Mhm.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining another episode today of the H-Town Rundown Houston Rockets Basketball Podcast. I got a lot of guys here with me today. We got a lot to talk about, so let's jump right to the intro. Woo! After that intro, man, it just hypes me up every single time. Thank you guys for joining us today. Another beautiful episode of the H-Town Rundown Houston Rockets Basketball Podcast. I got Ryan here, the usual host, man, and I got two special guests on today. Let's start off with our boy, Pastor, man. Some of you remember him from the earlier parts when we were the Black-owned podcast and early on H-Town Rundown Houston Rockets Basketball Podcast. Thank you, Pastor, for joining,
Yes,
man.
sir. Yes,
And
sir.
then we got another special guest here, Blank FT Tank 58 here to join us today from the Houston Chop Shop. He's got a show on YouTube. Please go check that out, guys. Let's start off with
Appreciate it.
Frank, man. Frank, how are you?
Doing good, bro. Appreciate you having me on. That intro was lit, bro. Appreciate that. That was pretty dope. Pretty dope.
Yes, sir, man. Hey, it gets you hyped to talk Houston Rockets basketball,
Yes,
doesn't it?
sir.
You're just ready to be here, ready to be alive. Another day to talk Rockets ball. But thank you again for joining today, man. Can't wait to talk about all these topics today. Ryan, brother, it's good to have you on once again, man. Appreciate you showing up for the show today. What's good, man?
Hey, man, just another day, man. But check out htownrundown.org. The new website is up. Only highlighted this week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Be
sir.
sure to check out the new website, man. We're gonna have a lot of stuff going out there. Can't wait to roll up the new merch too. Be sure to check it out when we start getting it out, man. And then, last but not least, I had to say Pastor for last, man. You know what it is. Man, what's good, Pastor? How you been, man?
It's all good, man. I'm excited to be here, ready to chop it up some Houston Rockets basketball, man. And the intro is fire, and it made when I was watching, I was thinking, like, bro, not much video has to change because we kept so many players a part of our core seven. So it's like, bro, I'm just happy to see our guys. I didn't see Reed Shepard in that, so we gotta make some changes, man, for sure.
We got to, man. The edits are coming. Don't
I
you?
got you. I got you.
Now, this is an episode I want to call and list as a filler episode. Today, we're not going to be talking about anything too serious. This is going to be our episode of theories. We're going to talk about what ifs, who we think is going to be the best at said category, such as an example that we're going to start off with later on, and we'll come back to is, do we think Jabari Smith Jr. is going to be the best defender at the end of the season? And if not him, who kind of thing, right? I'm interested to really see everyone's opinions today, and please, please, please be sure to let us know who you think is going to be the best at something at the end of the season. Be sure to check out the comments. Be sure to follow everybody on here, man. Be sure to follow Pastor at Earl A. God on X. And be sure to follow our boy Ryan at Ryan Diam15 on X, as well as our boy Frank. And you got his username there, FTank58 on X. All right, let's get started. So, Jabari Smith Jr., right? This is the person I want to talk about. I think he's been a hot topic lately. He's going to be someone going into his next season, right? He had a pretty good year two with Ime. I want to say he actually had plays ran for him, and it's really nice to see kind of some of the things that he improved on throughout the season. But there's still a lot of things he needs to improve on. I would say one thing immediately is his aggressiveness and his rebounding, something we want to see because we want him to potentially be that 4 or 5 slot. Right, I think that's kind of the potential vision we've got for him altogether. So at the end of the season, do we think Jabari Smith Jr. could be or will be the best defender on the team? I want to start off with Pastor and go around.
I don't, but I hate to be so bashful about it. It's hard for me to imagine that just because there's other players on the team I think have I guess better position versatility, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
and then I think that I'm looking for other players to make some leaps and bounds in that position. But he should be the most versatile, right? But I don't know, man. He looks bigger. He looks But I can't even say that like he worked on it this offseason. I haven't even really seen many
You
videos
don't
about
know.
his. Yeah, we just don't know, right? So, but is there an expectation for him to be a good defender? Absolutely. Should he get better as a defender? Absolutely. But I wouldn't make the claim that like he'll be like the best or even took the biggest jump on the defensive end.
Interesting. And that's crazy thing is that's not crazy to say because
Mm.
we've seen the same defensive lapse happen not only with Silas, right? What we expected, but some of the same things with Ime, which we
Mm.
didn't expect, right? That was a huge criticism as when Şengün got down. We expected Jabari to be able to take on a larger role, and we still struggled. Thank goodness to Jalen Green, like really picking up a lot of people's slack there. But I mean, we really didn't start get going until Jock Landale started playing a lot of those center minutes, right? That's something to look into too, having a real center out on the court versus a switchable big, right? I think that's something that's going to be something topic, but it's not crazy to say, man. That's not crazy to say. Ryan, man, I'm interested in your thoughts on Jabari Smith Jr. and his defense.
No. And also just get straight to the point.
2 no's, damn. Okay.
Well, I think it's gonna be 4 no's, hopefully, by the end of this segment. Because we have healthy Tari Eason going into the season. If Tari Eason can stay healthy throughout the entire season, he's going to be the best defender on the team. Point blank, period. No argument. End of discussion.
Wow. Okay.
Damn, decisive. I like that.
I'm gonna pin that. I'm very interested to come back to that. Let's get to Tanks, man. I'm interested, man. What are your thoughts on Jabari and his defense?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to jump with the nose here, bro. And I love Jabari. I think personally that he does need to step up. I think if you look at it, if you look at some of the people like that are outside of Houston, don't watch our games all the time, they would tell you Jabari Smith is a good defender. And the numbers, they show that he's a good defender because a lot of the numbers, like defensive metrics, are focused on like that you can see like on NBA.com are really isolation based. But Jabari really struggles in team defense. Like he's not good on help side. He doesn't know his rotations aren't that good all the time. The weak side rim protection, which you have a center like Şengün, ideally you would want that 4 to be somebody that could clean up when he's in the middle, when Şengün's kind of in the middle of that pick and roll. That's something he has a lot of ways to improve. I personally think him bulking up a little bit from the videos I've seen is actually helpful to him doing that. You see flashes of him guarding on the perimeter, like players like Steph. He steps out, then there's sometimes he gets cooked. I'm going to attribute a lot of that because he's young. And I just think that with young big men, it's really hard to gauge what they're going to be. If you look at some of the greatest big men, except like Tim Duncan, even guys like Dirk and KG, they were trash when they first came in the league. It took about 2-3 years for them to get their bodies right and their game right. So I'm hoping, I have high hopes for Jabari. I really think that this year is going to be his breakout year, in my opinion.
Wow. Oh, we at least left on some positive notes there. Everyone had just negative things to say. My goodness. We got a bunch of haters in the chat right now. But yeah, I mean, all around, right? My claim of is Jabari going to be the best, right? Likelihood, probably not, right? We've seen too many lapses and I think inconsistencies on the defensive end to make it a realistic conversation. I do think he will be better. I think that's a fair conversation, is that he will improve, right? We hope all of our young guys continue to grow and improve. And I do think he will take a little bit more of a leap, right? You have Ime, a defensive-minded coach, right? Just in general. You've got other great bigs out there. I mean, not that Jeff Green is this otherworldly defender, but I mean, man, sometimes I'd be watching that man make defensive plays and get chased on blocks. I'm shook because that man's like 50 years old out there running the court. But I would say that him, Jabari, go ahead, Bastard. What you got?
No, I was gonna say, but there are lineups that include or induce him being a better defender too, right? So when Ryan talks about Tari Eason, I don't know, like I'm so confused as to why our coaches don't really put them on the floor together at the 4-5 spot or the 3-4 spot. I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think even Tank talks about this a lot too. But there are ways to kind of get Jabari in a better position. So it's not so much like a indictment on him and his defense, because even if he just plays better, that's still a better Jabari and better consistency, right? It's just hard for me to wrap my head around him being the best, and almost as if like I don't even expect him to be the best. I just want him to be a good defender. Like that's it.
Yes, yeah. I mean, individually, he's not a terrible defender, right? We've seen him on average, be able to hold his own. Generally, obviously, the elites are the elites. Not every, they're elite for a reason. That's why you can't clamp them, right? But we've seen him again. The locksmith his rookie year. That was an absolute crazy game where he just completely shut down Giannis that entire game. But then there were a couple flashes, kind of like Tank said, throughout the regular season last year that give me hope that he can be an above, not say above average, but more of an above subpar defender. Somewhere we can rely on, right, and have that kind of thing.
Rely on is very key
Yes.
word. If you
Yes.
be able to rely on, yes.
Now, I did want to come back to what Ryan was saying. Ryan said something very interesting about Tari being a best defender and whatnot. Ryan, can you talk more about this, please? Because, I mean, I'm not saying that Tari isn't. I want your argument because right now, I mean, Dylan Brooks is a pretty good defender, right? I'm not saying he's the best defender on the team.
I haven't seen Tari Eason get crossed up by Steph Curry yet.
That's your premise. That's your baseline.
No, it's not. It's not. It's just the first. It's just the first thing that came to my head when he said Dylan Brooks is a good defender. Oh, okay, Rocky.
He got crossed up by one of the best.
All right.
Whitby got shut down by Dylan Brooks.
Here's what I'm gonna say. When we had Tari on the court, we played so much better as a team defensively. And also, we were a top 2-3 defensive team in the league when he was on the court. And then, I think we still finished top 5. But when we had Tari on that court, he made the team around him better on defense. It wasn't just him as a player. It was the entire team.
Now,
and I think he also brings that, aggressiveness that we need on the court.
That's something I want to talk about is the aggressiveness, right? Because that's what I initiated the conversation with is Jabari and his aggressiveness, right? I'm not saying that he acts soft. He just don't, you know what I mean? He ain't got that motor that he's got, right?
Not yet. We'll see if he gets there or not. I don't think that he's afraid to be on the court. I think there's some form of fatigue that may settle in for Jabari side of things.
Sure.
And then just being a sturdy basketball player, you watch him coming into the league at 19, right? And just hasn't even developed grown man strength. He has all the body archetype. He looks a little smaller than the men he played with, but there's just a lot of steps that he has to naturally take. And to this point, and this comes straight from Twitter, not even out my mouth, is that when he comes up for contract talks, he'll be 25, 26, and he is the prototype basketball four that other teams would pay for. So when you talk about that and just where would he be at 26, he may be a complete four. You know what I mean? He may not be the best four, but he may be a complete four, and that's worth conversation. It's where we are today is nowhere close to where we may be when he actually comes to grown man strength and grown man skill set at that 4 spot.
100%. Yep. Fantastic conversation there. So let's break from Jabari.
Okay.
Let's talk more about Tari Eason and his effectiveness on the court. Tank man, tell me about Tari. Ryan is making a claim that Tari is our best defender on the team, right? And he gave some pretty conclusive evidence, but is that true? Give me your thoughts.
I think it's going to be a kind of a close race between him and Amen Thompson. And I think that if I had to give a nod to somebody, it probably would be Amen, just because his versatility, his athleticism, the ability to, I think an important part, both of them are great rebounders. The difference with Amen is that when he pushes it on the other end, it usually ends up in a great shot for the team. Whereas Tari, we kind of know he got a little CTE on transition, so
and misses.
So that's something that I will knock him off. Like I think Amen just being able to push the tempo. When Şengün went down and Amen was in the starting lineup, we ran. I think we were top of the league in transition play, and that was because they were getting steals and stops, and everybody ran. And that's a huge part. There's a huge discrepancy between when Amen is on the court and when he's off the court for the Rockets. And I just like his all-around game. I think Ime came out and said that Amen is probably one of the best defenders for his age that he's seen. So I would give the nod to Amen. I think Tari, they are incredibly similar. When it comes to defensive motor, their aggressiveness, because they have the footwork, foot speed, hip flexibility, the hands, their aggressiveness and attacking ball handlers. So I'm really just excited to see, because when Tari was healthy, Amen really didn't have that prominent role he had. He kind of gained that because of Tari's injury and over time, and we haven't really seen them adjacent to each other, having a guard player. So, why not both? I think any unit with Amen and Tari Easton on, that's probably going to be our best defensive unit with those two players playing
Why
together.
not both? I like it.
Great.
I like it.
It's a great take, Frank. I actually want to go back on what you're saying about Amen Thompson. I think that he is probably one of the better defenders in the league. He is, hopefully, at the end of the season, I think he will be the best defender on our team. But just based on what we've seen, especially with Tari already having 2 seasons in the league, I think he will be the best one. But I do want to see Amen hopefully be the best one on the team. Also, I think that if he is the best defender on the team, he'll be an all-NBA defender.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see him. I mean, he was. There was a point in the season where you could have said he was the best perimeter defender in the NBA. As
Yes,
He
like
was-
that's crazy.
He
to
was
think
snubbed
about.
from all-rookie first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't play though the whole season, so like that's one thing that
Yeah,
factored
exactly.
into that evaluation. But that was my guy. You know, you beat me to it, Frank. But yeah, now it's hard for me to look at anybody beyond the men, mainly because of the perimeter defense first. Being so that he was already at that level of defending when he finally touched the NBA court and playing at when we needed him, he played at that level. I only expect him to get better, right? And the only reason I give him the nod over Tari is because of the athleticism, right? I think he's much more athletic and stronger in certain ways. I don't know. I think he plays bigger than his size at times. So because of that, like I think that you can kind of do more with the men on the defensive side. I don't think that it's a knock on either one of them. I just think that 1 through 5, a man can guard all of them, and I just give that like a lot of credit, bro. And I really do think that he's going to be the X factor moving forward for this team. And I hate to say it in a way where like you can do without Tari's defense when you have a men, but it's just such a
Why
luxury
not
to have
both?
both. That's why I say it's a luxury to have both, though, because you have both. And just because you said that, you know, having both, I done seen Tari do well with Jabari, and I know that a
Yeah.
men and Tari can play well together. I mean, you can have all three, you know, in the conversation if you really been honest with you. If you ever wanted to take Shadoon off the floor and we have to play very productive defensive sets, you could do that with those three and it wouldn't look horrible. You know what I mean? You could still get transition offense, get some threes down, keep a little bit of spacing outside of them in. But yeah, I mean, it looks good idealistically, right? And that's something I would like to see too.
Again, why not both? That quote goes so hard. Thank you, Tank. Bro's been on the podcast for 50, 60 minutes and is immediately dropping bars. All right. That's why we have everyone for the Houston Rockets community on. You'll go crazy out there. Thank you for that. Now, Pastor, you saying that potentially, right? I want to like misquote you, right? So we get clipped, right? But potentially, you're saying that with the men Thompson being on the court, we may be able to do without Tari Easton's defense. That's
well, that's not. Yeah, it's not like a bad thing though. Like more or less, I'm saying because of the injury, right? So it's not like I'm saying I want to be without Tari. It's just showing that we have a lot of defenders on this team, and we like so because really my top 3 defenders would be Amen, Tari, and then Dylan Brooks. That would be my top 3. And as long as you have 1 or 2 of those 3, you should be able to compete with most of the higher, end teams in the league. That's just how I feel about it. So when I'm saying do without, it's just the fact that there will be games where someone has to need a break. Maybe, Dylan Brooks is out for some games or whatever. You need Tari to step up or you need a men. So who do you want to lean that expectation on game in, game out? I'm going to lean it on the men first, but understand I have a Tari Easton and a Dylan Brooks. But likely our team is going to lean on Dylan Brooks, understanding that we have a men and a Tari. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So it's not so much about without. It's just the fact that we have many options. And then we have a Jabari and so forth. So, yeah. Anyway.
Okay. I like that. Thank you for defending yourself because with the Houston Rockets community, we know how some people like to get. So we like to be sure we are putting it out there exactly what we mean. So thank you for clearing that up. Now, with that going forward, it seems like a men is a hot topic on today's podcast episode, right?
Hey, bro, if I can say this, bro, and I love shout out to my guys, Greenleaf Exclusive. I love those guys over there. Great pods. I love talking to them. They be getting on my, cuss word, but I love talking to them. And I have a whole debate about why I think a men is the reason we had to go on that. We got a chance to go on that run last year. Now, granted, I don't think that he was the primary, but I feel like it's understated his effect and his role in his offense. Bro, a man is, a factor. And I think that we're sleeping on what he actually does with his Rocket team. And like I think that people are so hyped on Jalen and what he did those final 15 games that we oversee that.
All right.
He is. Bro,
Nah, I think
guy, bro.
Hey, hold on. I'm gonna interrupt here.
you cooking, Pastor. I
Jalen
ain't gonna
Green
lie.
averaged 30 plus points over March,
Mm-hmm.
a whole month, which is his best flash he's ever seen. And we went on a what was it, like 12, 13, 14?
It's about 13, 14, roughly.
13, 14
Right.
game win streak throughout the entire month. 37 against the Thunder in overtime.
Jalen was. I would say Jalen was the
I don't
offensive
know. Look.
catalyst.
Yes.
But a lot of the stuff that, like, as far as if you want to me, him being inserted in the starting lineup, if you look at his on-off differentials in that time period, like as far as all the players, the impact on rebounding, transition play, defense, even scoring, the offense, like it was crazy. And just functionally,
bro.
him being able to play that 5 role.
Player. Don't get me wrong. I love Amen, but he's also a 6'8" guard that can guard 1 through 5.
Right.
And that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. So it's not saying Jalen didn't, like, I don't know what Pastor's like agenda is with what he's saying.
I'm sorry.
No, on this podcast, we condemn what Pastor says about Jalen Green.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, all these points are valid, right? If we're thinking about it, it's not that Jalen Green, like, he was obviously the key, like the number one factor, right? But I mean, what Amen did was no one.
It was phenomenal.
Talked about, right? I mean, yeah, it was phenomenal, right? But like, you think like, you know, just me and whatnot. It was always like, yeah, look at Jalen Green's doing. Look what he's doing. Look what he's doing, right? It was not. There was not much of like, yo, Amen being inserted to the starting lineup made that kind of change, right? Like allowing Jalen to play the downhill, right? I mean, when you played Amen, Jalen, and Cam, there wasn't a supreme lot of defense being played, but you best believe those passing lanes were being played, right? And Amen being the point of attack defender in that scenario, right, allowed them to push the tempo to a degree where Jalen and Cam were efficient.
On that topic, right? Sorry to cut you off, and that's just specifically I want to clarify this is that we upped our tempo naturally throughout the year, and there's a few guys on Twitter who has statistics on this as well that I support. And when they brought it forward, because I felt this way before the stats came out, but when the stats came out, it kind of re-instilled my perspective on that, right? But like understanding what turnovers and running in transition did for this team, and also in Fred's decision making when we got to this point, it's so much that played into it. But the key factor was the creation of turnovers, and that started with Amen Thompson, bro. And having a running mate out there with Jalen Green made the difference. In the fact, it was beautiful that running mate was a point guard too. So it was like this running mate could also get the ball back to Jalen if need be, and also help him create as well. So a lot of these 30 points that you're referring to, they didn't just they wasn't all self-creation. And a lot of it was confidence, but a lot of it was transition, and a lot of it was pace as well. So I just I can't isolate just what Jalen did and just talk about it as just like this superhero. He is the best player on our team. I mean, we can have those conversations on just compartmentalize it in a way, right? But it's just so much that was created from the pressure that Amen did on the defensive side and being able to run in transition. Bro, there's plays that we can go pull up where, I mean, Amen Thompson is galloping during transition after a steal, after a block, after a rebound. And it's like he put himself in frame to make a play. And that's just like, those are big, very, like kind of like we talk about Tarise's hustle points. Those are points that you don't always get to see. That's the relative equal point for Amen Thompson.
Yeah.
100%. And along with that, right, kind of like the defensive plays and the pressure that Amen is applying, the second he's getting that ball, whether it's from a defensive like a steal or a block, like you said, or even a rebound, he's immediately got his head up and he's running immediately. He's not dribbling the ball up slowly, trying to figure out what he wants to do. No, he's looking where everybody is immediately and who he can pass it to, who can get up the court the fastest in that moment. And like a lot of times, it was Jalen Green, but it was also Cam Whitmore. At times, it was even Aaron Holiday, just down the court, someone cherry picking all the way down there. And he's got it to them. His court vision was absolutely insane. Even if he wasn't getting the direct assist, I mean, he's got to get bonus points for getting the pass to the assist. You know what I mean? He got to get bonus points for not just the defensive pressure that you're
filling the lane, filling the lane correctly, knowing what it be.
Yes,
so much. So much. Yeah.
Amen did unspeakable, phenomenal things, and I mean, it attributed to the goodness of the Houston Rockets during that time, especially with Fred, not playing, and then a couple of games where he was just out, right? Totally cool. I'm right with the younger guys running it, especially when it looks like that. That's what I like to see. Is I mean, from the beginning of the season, to where we ended. Ben Thompson grew, right? Obviously, he dealt with that ankle injury and then sickness and whatnot throughout the season. And once that boy was healthy, man, he was bad. He was a phenomenal player. No, Ryan. But Ryan, to your point though, obviously Jalen was. We've talked about it. I think ad nauseum here is that Jalen during that time was not only the best player on the team, during that run, but very clearly a top 5 player in the league. He was doing things that, the crossover he had on the Wizards. I still play that to this day, right?
It was on NBA top 10 crossovers of the year, I think.
It was. I think at least top 20. I saw that they.
No, it was top 10. I think it was like top. It was like I think top 7, but it should have been the top 1.
Anyway,
it should have been. That crossover right there started his entire month run. That started the 30 points a game. That started his six turnaround threes in a row.
Oh man.
Am I wrong?
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing here. He did a lot, right? He was going crazy.
Superman.
Going crazy. But we have to attribute to other players, right? That were doing great during that time. Another player before he got injured, right? Like kind of like in the middle, little early in that run, Cam Whitmore. Putting up points off the bench, doing some crazy shit. I believe he had a couple. He had a couple starts during the regular season, and that his first start I think was against the Boston Celtics. Didn't do too well, but it was his very first start, right? I don't. That was a learning process. But
I thought it was no. I thought it was the first game against the Celtics he played well, and then the second one he didn't play well.
He was off the bench. I'm talking about first game as a starter was against the Celtics.
Wait, yeah,
yes.
Wasn't that?
That was the one on the road, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking the game at home then. I think.
Yep. Yeah,
we'll get to it later though, but I do have my concerns about Cam Whitmore that I'd like to talk about at some point.
Let's yeah. So we'll bubble that. But going forward though, some of his play as well, and then Jock Landale during that run again. I don't think.
All right.
Again, it's that.
Nah, Jock was cooking.
Thank you. We have a Jock hater in the room.
I was a Jock hater, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I might still be.
We all were. We all were.
Listen,
no,
that man was horrible.
Yes,
bro. He was like the worst player in the league.
Yes,
and all of a sudden he just woke up, like his
and then he fell back to sleep.
Somehow came back to life, and he figured he could play basketball again.
Yes,
but he was bad, bro.
I mean,
some
of that I attribute to I don't know if he was fully healthy, right? Like I don't like using that as an excuse, right? If you're not fully healthy, I don't think you should
play. Yeah.
Okay, right. You don't want to hinder the team, right? And it is a cop-out answer, like, oh, our guy's not fully healthy, whatever. But regardless, during that
okay, sorry.
Yeah, during that run with Jalen, right? Once Jabari stopped playing a lot of those starting center minutes and Jock started playing against those starting centers, that changed the entire, not as much as it meant affected the game, but there was a huge effect, I guess, with Jock being inserted, right, and playing a lot of those starting bigs. That it's nothing against Jabari. It's just the body type, the size, the skill, and the overall experience that Jock has. He just neglected to share it with us through the rest of the regular season in the beginning.
It's so much to it though, bro. Like I'm looking at Jock and I think of Jock as like you have to understand how to play your style of basketball, right?
Agreed.
And understand what you contribute to the team. And I think that a lot of times early on, if you don't know how we play basketball, like Şengün was the hub, but like we kind of focused on Fred, Şengün, and Dylan Brooks because Dylan Brooks was shooting at a high clip to start the season, right? So when you bring Jock off the bench, like what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? And then also pace goes into this as well. Playing at a higher pace fits Jock a lot better, believe it or not, because he's such an athletic type of center, which is kind of weird to say, but he is though.
Yes.
And I don't want to knock him for that. So it played into his part. He also can stretch the floor. He wasn't hitting threes early on. Now he was towards the end of the season. That's just a confidence thing. So I don't want to knock him for those things that were just kind of like they are expected, but it's just like understanding your role. There was not a clear role. We brought Jock in because we had to fill a contract and we needed a backup center. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just so much that play into it. Another thing is this same argument applies to Jabari at the 5 and will be how we use Steven Adams at the 5. Understanding that each of those players, those 4 players, Şengün, Jabari, Jock, and Steven Adams, right? Understanding how are you playing the 5 and how are we playing basketball with you at the 5 on the court, right? And I think that conversation has to, we can't, that becomes a hard conversation when we're comparing all 4, right? Because Alperen Şengün is a very different type of 5 and a better 5 for those reasons. You know what I mean? So I just like, I don't want to knock Jock for the first half of the season, but he did come on, and when he came on, he played his style of basketball. So that's what I'm gonna give him credit for.
I think the way that they described it was that I don't know if it was Coach Udoka or him that said this. He was hurt, and that allowed him to lose his minutes essentially. And once you lose your minutes in professional sports, you could still be good, but it's like just like with Tom Brady and Ryan, you might be too young. Y'all maybe I know Pastor may know when Drew Bledsoe went down. And the new kid come up and get those start, winning games. Drew Bledsoe probably got healthy at some point, and they were like, we don't give a damn. And that's the thing. And I think Jock, even though he got healthy, he just was not getting the opportunity because when he was given the opportunity, he didn't play good because he was injured. So the circumstances forced him back into the lineup. He seized that opportunity. So I don't, I just think it happens all the time in the league. To Pastor's point, and I think this is something I haven't heard nobody really talk about, and I do agree with him. Each center brings something different as far as what their functions are. As like Steven Adams is a screener. Şengün is more of an offensive hub. Londale is more of a passive version of Şengün, more of a kind of an in-between where he stretches but fits in. And Jabari is more of like a kind of pick and pop, switch everything type of guy. To me, a big challenge for Ime is going to be finding out which guards to pair that with, because I might not want Fred VanVleet with maybe Jock Landale. That might not be a good combination because Jock Landale's style of play doesn't really add anything to Fred's game because he doesn't have rim pressure. So maybe putting Fred with like Şengün works because Şengün has so much gravity. So what Fred lacks, Şengün makes up for it. But Jalen, for example, and this may be some of the things that him and Şengün need to figure out, is that they are both gravity players. And sometimes having 2 gravity players isn't always the best thing. Whereas a passive center like a Clint Capella to a James Harden may be just what that player needs to get off. So, I've said this before. I think for like our center pairing, obviously Jalen and Şengün being them figuring that Shaq and Kobe dynamic, that's a hard thing to do with 2 talented players. If they can figure out like the balance, then that duo is going to be deadly. But like you're going to see kind of ebbs and flows of, Steven Adams and Jalen got good synergy together because Steven Adams don't do much but screen. And that a lot. So it's just the peak for us is going to be Jalen and Şengün figuring out how do you maximize what we both do well. But that's a great point, Pastor.
And we've seen flashes of that too. They're the youngest duo to have 30 and 10 in the same game.
Right.
And when they can do that, that was against what team? Was it against the Lakers maybe? I don't remember what team it was against, but we blew them out when they did that. And I think they did that 3 times.
Phoenix? It may have been Phoenix.
Maybe. It was. I remember it was one of the better teams in the Western Conference.
But that's our only shot at any, like, to me on this roster, that's our only shot at that high level, like high outcome of play, because none of the centers are going to get us there. Like, I don't give a damn how good Jalen Green is. If Steven Adams is who you're pairing him up with, we're not going to go where we're trying to go.
Are you saying that our peak is Jalen Green and Şengün playing their best basketball both at the same time?
Like together, yes. Not on some Russ and Harden, like literally like 2-man. Like, because you think in a playoff setting, really about matchups and combinations and how you could put the defense at a disadvantage. If your best action involves 2 of your best players, that's impossible to guard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, it creates an identity, though. I think that is also a factor. You look at De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis is the name. Like, that's something that and I think that we don't have to be them, but in a way, there's a kind of like a one-to-one, relativity to that, right? But I just like, you want them to be. I don't agree with them being the only way, but because of the level of play that they've had so far, in them being the oldest players that we drafted, you almost like needed to beat them right now while we figure out the rest of the roles for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. That's beautiful. First, we got some Jalen Green positivity, so I know Pastor's over there fuming, but also,
Oh, bro, I'm trying to hold it.
We don't balance it out, I'm sure.
but also we've got some Shangoon positivity, which is rare to have both positivity in one conversation. I love it. But I think having the Jacques of all trades, as I call him, Jock over there, he's I don't know. You're saying a passive center, and I want to say do it all big, because we've seen him be able to pass, right? He can play make, he can defend, right? I think he has a different. I don't know. It's really hard, actually. When I say this out, it's hard to describe what kind of big man he really category he fits into, because I'm not saying he's Sabonis. I'm not saying he's Jokic, right? But he can shoot the three, right? Occasionally. I don't want him to be our spot up, every time get Jock 7 threes in a game. But he can hit the three if he's wide open. He's passed phenomenally. He's had some great power dunks and solid defensive plays. If you put a highlight reel of Jock together and then showed it to someone who's never watched
There
basketball,
would be 3 videos.
It'll be hello. Welcome to the video. One play. Thank you.
oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Like and subscribe.
No way! Look. Regardless, though, I think he doesn't get enough credit during that run. But I think again today we've talked about him.
That's because it wasn't his run; it was Jalen Green's run.
His run.
But, hey, real quick, when I said passive, I didn't mean I meant passive is filling where he needs to.
Okay.
Like if he needs to
y'all
screen,
saying the same thing.
Yeah, he doesn't like Shangoon demands an attention. Like what I mean. Steven Adams is a screener, and that's his thing. Jock is like you said, Jock of all trades. He just goes. So I mean, passive to the primary player on the team at that point, which is a good thing, in my opinion.
For sure.
Last I'll say on this, and we can go to the next one, is that if we're talking about Jabari at that 5, I would like to see more of the elbow shots and the post playmaking that he's good at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any other way to get him those type of sets outside of the 5, because I don't know many people who do it at the 4 in the league right now, right? So it's if we're going to remember I brought up the Amin Thompson, Tari Eason, and Jabari at the 5 lineup, right? Like there are ways that you can create a pace and a scoring pace with that type of set and still have like Amin and Tari, and if you put Reed out there, you could play. And these are just theories, right? But I do think that Jabari has best asset is from the wing and those post spins and post shots, and I want to see him utilize that skill set in the league. Otherwise, I don't know how we do it.
Yeah, that's a good way to end that conversation off there about centers.
Absolutely.
Now I've got one more main topic to talk about, and then everything else is just kind of, if anyone got something, we got something.
I got plenty, but go ahead.
I'm interested. So you mentioned Reed. We very lightly touched upon him.
Pause.
Good.
Yeah, this one you got to get a pause for, bro.
How good is this Reed Shepherd guy going to be at the end of the season? Like we saw how he was in the summer league, right?
Go.
PG in the back there, please.
Hey, if anybody knows, I'm a Jalen Green hater, right? I am not enthused.
Maturing is realizing that Jalen Green is one of the best players in the league.
Hey, so anyway, if anybody knows, I'm one of the biggest Jalen Green haters. And if anybody also knows that I am a big proponent of Amin Thompson, the only other players I actually like, as basketball players more than, Amin is Alperen Sengun. And when they brought Reed Shepherd to the table, what I really liked was just how easy he makes basketball look. So for me, I'm very high on what he can bring to this team. I don't think of him as a star. I just think of him as like a winning basketball player. And I think because we went through the silence eras, I just yearn for good basketball, bro. And I'm a football guy. A lot of people don't know this. Like I talk a lot about basketball, but I grew up playing football. So when I finally got into basketball and I knew how it was supposed to be played appropriately, and you just kind of know what those players look like. And for me, what type of player does Reed Shepherd, end up being, at least for this season? I think he's a plus. Oh no, but he's a plus contributor from a scorer and a playmaker side of the things. I think defensively he'll probably struggle all year long until he understands how to position himself and just grow in that aspect, right? Get a little stronger, get bigger, how to utilize his teammates and team defense, which I don't think he lacks the IQ. It's just a matter of actually doing it.
Yeah.
But as far as scoring, knocking down threes, that mid-range shot, I think is going to be something that's going to shock y'all this season, bro. But just understanding how to score on the court, bro, I mean, that's something that we have not had in like 5 years. You know what I mean? And I think that role is an easy and needed role. You would hope like a Cam could have did that, but it's easier for Reed Shepard because of the position that we want. We want to play point guard, shooting guard after Fred and such, right off the bench. So it'll be easier for him to make those plays.
100%. Phenomenally done as per usual by our boy Pastor Man. I like the breakdown. Now, Tank Man, give me your take on the Shepard business.
I think Pastor hit a lot of the top, the kind of the things that I think. I think Reed, I think the fan base overhyped him to come in, and I watched later on down the line, even after we drafted him, because a lot of people watch film on Reed prior to the draft because they assume we're going to get him. I've been doing this for so long. I really don't watch because you don't never know who we're going to get. You're going to spend hours watching all this tape and you never get the guy. So when we knew we were getting him, I watched a lot of film on him. One thing I saw about him, he's a better passer than anything else. I think that's probably his biggest gift is his vision. The shooting is there, and I think he's going to be a really elite shooter. But the defense is going to be an issue in the NBA and his size. He's really small. And to me, the reason I bring that up is because of Ime Udoka as his coach. And to me, it's not even a matter of whether he's going to play or not play. It's a matter of his upside. As far as him getting the usage to even get to what people think he's going to be, he's going to have to be a better defender. And with, like Pastor said, I don't see that in year one. I think he needs to get stronger. He's obviously hella young. He needs to just learn to be a rookie. One thing this rebuild should teach every Rocket fan is that being a rookie in the NBA is hard as hell. Like, I don't give a damn how talented you are. These guys struggle. Jalen struggled. Şengün struggled. Jabari struggled. Tyree's role was too limited for him to really say he struggled. But if you're going to be thrust to be you're going to be one of those guys, you're going to struggle as a rookie. And I think the good thing about Reed coming in this year is that he is prospect number 7. And I don't think the expectations for him are that high. Like, you have the Jalen's and the Amens and the Jabaris that have more urgency as far as what they need to do in the NBA. Reed can just be a regular rookie. And I think for Amen and Cam, they got that kind of same treatment where we don't need you. It's nice that you're playing good, but on most nights, it's not going to be because you didn't play that we lost a game or won a game. And I think that luxury that Jalen and them didn't have is good for young guys because he gets the structure they didn't have. He gets the accountability. He doesn't have to play the 30-some minutes a night. And I think that's a good setting for him to just be in the background, work on his game, and then show up maybe a year down the line where he really is. But I'm chilling with him. I don't expect much from him, honestly, this year. I can even see them sending him down to the G League this year because they got a lot of guys. But one thing I'll say about him, and same thing with what Pastor said, the basketball IQ through the roof. And I'm going to, from a podcast, the short-lived JJ Redick and LeBron podcast, they had an episode about the playoffs and like championships. One of the things LeBron said is that the teams that win championships are the teams that have the most guys that understand basketball. It's not about athleticism or who can dunk or run the fastest. How many of your players have the high IQ? He said, and when you get to those conference championships, that's where that stuff really matters. And you look at the Warriors, the Spurs, all these dynasties, not a bunch of like unathletic guys, but they know the game. And I think the Rockets drafting a kid that is a basketball mind. I think you pair that with the Amen Thompsons of the world, the Şengüns of the world. Hopefully the other guys catch up to that level. More of those guys in the room, the better off for us. So yeah, I'm excited
Denver
to see
too,
what he
though.
does.
And I said Denver too, and Denver's a good, it's a good showcasing of what coaching IQ does, along with your best players having good IQ, right? Because I don't think of Aaron Gordon as a high IQ guy. Neither do I look at Murray either. But because they played so long together, MPJ as well, they play so long together,
chemistry.
they understand. Yeah, that chemistry helps out a lot. So you can have a couple IQ players, high IQ players that can contribute, And as long as the athletic guys know how to play with those guys, it coincides. So I agree with that a lot.
Boston did the same thing
Yep.
with a lot of chemistry. You got a lot of good vets on there that have a lot of experience, and I think that all that stuff matters. And that's one of the reasons I think the Rockets should try to thug this out for the long term, because
as much as possible.
In the NBA, you look at it, teams that are winning are the ones that really stuck together, and all that team building.
Hey, and Boston is the perfect example because of how much they went through so much turnover and turmoil through their Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum situation. Like, people was trying to break that up. What, like 2 years ago or a year ago?
Damn near every year.
They've been doing it since the bubble.
It was 1 year. It was really, really close, though. It was like really close. Yeah.
The Kyrie year, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm saying that I agree with you. Like, I mean, passionately, because of this, is that I brought up the 26-year-old Jabari Smith, and I'm saying that for a reason. It's like, once you get to the 24, 26 mature age of these players, you're gonna miss these guys, bro. You're gonna look at these guys like, damn, man, we could have kept them. Oh, Jabari was that guy. Prin was that guy. Reed Shepard, Jalen Green was that guy. Like, I give Jalen Green a lot of slack. Like, I do have a disdain towards him. But at the end of the day, when he plays well, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I wish he played bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what I'm gonna say. Like, I just understand that, like, I wouldn't have picked them right now, and I don't project them out. But at the end of the day, at 25, 26, 27, bro, he may be the best scorer in the league. And when you see that, you just have to appreciate it, understand, like, that's the natural progress of an NBA player.
Let me say one more thing real quick. I want you guys, whoever's watching, go look at Summer League and go look at the videos that we just saw from Jalen Green's training thing. Look at the bodies of these dudes and pause over the years, and they're still like 22. The reason, when you talk about prime man body, as you know what I mean, when you reach 24,
you a grown man.
I know, right? When you reach 24, 25 years old, can you imagine what Alperen Sengun looks like when he is like built like a Sabonis, or when
Sabonis, I was just thinking Sabonis,
15 pounds? Like, so that's the thing with younger players. You really gotta put in, like, Jabari may look like Giannis at some point in his career. You know what I mean? Because he has the frame for it. So it's Tari Eason, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of patience that goes along with when we look at these players.
Beautifully said. I like the synergy between Tank and PG here, man. It's like they've run.
That's my dog.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a minute. Yeah, we done had a lot of conversations, bro.
Yes, sir.
Yes, all of it.
Ryan, man. Before we go to our next topic here, and just to get everyone a heads up, Pastor's got a couple things he wants to talk about, so we'll let him deter that. But Ryan, man, what are your last thoughts on Shepard? And where do you think he's going to be at the end of the season?
It's all been said. There's really nothing more I can say. But what I will say is that Frank perfectly described Steph Curry. Give him a year or 2 or 3 to be really good. Doesn't need to come off and be the best player in the world. Might go down to the G League first year. Short, great shooter, great court vision. I mean, Cocaine Curry, right? I mean, it's literally who he just described.
A thing that I'll say this before we move on. Reed, sorry, my goodness, having Reed and Fred VanVleet together on the same team, I think, is going to mean a lot to Reed in the future.
Yes,
having another short guard that's got phenomenal hands. Because again, in the summer league, I know it's not 1-to-1, but Reed's hands were pretty good. We saw him getting in there.
No, I think he's a plus in that, understanding where the plate be at in the passing lane. Yes, for sure.
And having Fred as your guy to bring you up in that environment. And then, again, having Dylan Brooks as another guy who can help you. Not saying that Dylan Brooks is an undersized defender. He's 6'6". He's got weight on him.
He's not 6'6". Don't let them out of you, bro.
But having that energy, right, and being around that kind of defensive mind that Dylan Brooks has, and then the defensive IQ that Fred has, I think is going to turn Reed into a true shooting two-way player. I'm so excited to see what ends up happening with him in the future, and hopefully I'm right. But if not, I'm not saying he's going to be the best player, but he has the most structure out of any rookie coming out that we've drafted so far. I'm very excited to see what's going on with him. Okay, that's all I've got for this bit here. Pastor man, take it away, man. What do you got? We got a little
I
bit of
got a
time here.
couple, man. I'm gonna briefly say this, and then I'm gonna talk about what I want to talk about Cam Whitmore. But do not sleep on the depth of this team. I think there's a lot. Like, I mean, from start to finish to the 15th man, maybe the 17th. It may be like McVay. Is his name is McVay? How you say his name? The other Australian shooter.
Oh, Jack. Yeah.
Jack, right? When we get the Aaron Holiday and so forth, like I think there's a lot of depth to this team. So we didn't go over every player, but there is something to have conversation about where we have a team that should compete. Okay, stop it. They definitely should compete, and when I mean compete, I'm not saying compete for a championship. It's just that I need to see some lineups, man. I need to see how we're playing basketball together. What does it look like? And that way I can kind of understand what the vision is. Because when Fred talks about Jalen and Şengün, it's like they have to be the best players. But like then I'm wondering, like, is it limited to them being the best players? Like, how deep are we playing? 9-man, 10-man, 12? Like, I don't know what that looks like. And I don't know, is someone missing out on opportunity just because we have so much depth? And that's where I get in the conversation about Cam Whitmore. It scares me because when you talk about structure and expectations and you talk about development, I think Cam Whitmore is at the highest risk of being lost in the sauce, even though I think he's a good prospect and he's a young prospect.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I wouldn't say tradable, but he's the most likely. Think of like Deion Waiters. Is that his name for the Heat? That's how I view his NBA projection right now, just because it's so much that he can just, he doesn't, there's not a particular spot for him, not a particular role for him. Even if we do find success, where does he fit in? It's just like, I don't know, man. And I think I do like him. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know how he pairs with the future projection. And we wasn't supposed to draft him. So yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. I don't vibe with where he ends up on this team at any point this year, next year, or moving forward.
And I'll also just add a comment to what you said. I said this on the last podcast, and now that it's out there, I might as well just say it again, even though I'm really not supposed to say it. But there have been problems with Cam Whitmore inside of the team with his attitude, which is why he was sent down to the G League last year. And if those continue, then he's definitely going to be willing to be traded. And that's just what
bringing that up is truthful. And this moves me to what I want to bring up, because again, we got our boy Cam here talking about him. I want to see, like in the future, right? We're talking about Jalen being, 26, talking about Şengün contract here, Jabari contract here. I don't see Cam as the guy that's going to take anything less than the max for the most money possible. You know what I mean? Like, no matter.
That depends on if he finds a role. Like, if we're talking about a role.
Well, I'm not talking about from us specifically.
No. But I'm saying like that affects like his perspective on expectation, right? So
sure.
if there's a specific role for Cam Whitmore, we'll pay you or offer you based on that role. If you don't like it, cool. We'll go about the proper means of doing so. But there is a lack of projected role for him, at least from a fan perspective. Like they may even talk about it. I don't know what it is, right? So go ahead, continue. But I agree to some degree.
Yeah. I also don't think Cam is a guy that's going to be comfortable with being anything less than a starter. I in the future, when he's up for that big contract, I think Cam sees himself as a full-fledged, I'm not necessarily the best player on the team, but I'm the best at my position kind of guy. Whether he's playing the 2, the 3, or the 4, doesn't matter. I think he sees himself as a true bona fide starter. And it is interesting that, you kind of brought up this thing with Cam Whitmore, because again, we loved his run. We saw what he did, most points per game ever as a rookie, with his minutes played, right? Phenomenal. And he didn't even start off like getting very many minutes to begin with in the G League for so many games, like we talked about, right? It's just what's Cam going to be doing in the future, right?
We don't need him. That's the sad thing to say.
Well, I'll say that him and Jalen have some overlap as far as their roles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably one of the bigger reasons why it's hard to project out a role, because it's either he's going to be earholed as a 6-man just off rip and never allowed to like really flourish and be his true self, or he finds something else to do, which is kind of hard to see. Like, he's a scorer. I think that everybody knows that. I have a philosophy, and I say this, like, scoring to me is one of the most meaningless skills to have in the NBA in isolation, meaning that's all you do. If all
In
you do is
isolation, okay.
score, like, then most coaches don't really have a place for you on a functional roster as far as getting big minutes. Most, like, if you're going to be a starter level player in the NBA, you have to do two things really, really good. Are you a scorer and a passer? Are you a scorer and a defender? Are you a rebounder in the pass? Like, all the starters in the NBA are functionally, they do two things. And for Cam, it's he can score. I think for his role in the NBA in general is going to be really defined by what is the other thing. Is it defense? Is it passing? Is he a rebounder? Like, what is this thing that he does that says that I can put him here on the court in my 5-man lineup and let him play big minutes? Because if all he's doing is scoring, then I'm missing something from that somebody else could be doing.
Frank
A
is
good
slashing
example,
the part of that.
Slashing, but even
That's
that in
scoring to you.
itself.
Is that scoring? That's
Yeah,
that's
that's
all.
part of your
Okay.
scoring, your
Okay.
type of
Then I'm with
scoring.
you there.
I'll
Okay.
give you an example. In the Olympics, you have a collection of the greatest players in the world on Team USA. And when you look at like the way they ended up building their team, what you guys would think that, oh yeah, just put the 5 best guys out there, right? You put all the scores, KD, like, it doesn't work like that. The best teams they had would be with the Whites or the Drew Holidays, or you need, even Devin Booker had to change his game to become the full court pressure defensive guy because they don't need Devin Booker to score. I got LeBron. Like, he gonna push it. He gonna, like, that's the
I
Rock
got
gonna be
Kevin
in the
Durant. I got Curry.
I
right?
got KD, bro. Like, what is your role? I know you're talented at scoring. What do you bring to this team when I got other guys that can score? Şengün can score. JG can score. So for him, that's where, to me, that's where he's really going to have to define. Now, real quick, I love Cam's game. I think he's still young, and it's hard to define that. I love what I've seen in Summer League. I'd like to see him mature more and develop more. And I'm going to see what he does this year. But yeah, there are some, like, what is the long-term outlook when now you add Reed Shepherd to that mix as well. So yeah.
100%. About the Olympics real quick. Is that why Jason Tatum didn't play a single minute in the last couple games?
Bro, thank you. Okay, let me say this real quick. From a basketball standpoint, I know people gave Steve Kerr a lot of slack. Jason Tatum is the Cam Whitmore of the Olympics team. Like, he is a scorer. On his team, great. I got Drew, I got Porzingis, I got Derek White, all these passive players, as I call them, or secondary players. And the only person he really has to compete with for scoring is Jaylen Brown. And everybody else kind of fits their role. Tatum is not a great cutter, not a particularly great defender, not a particularly great rebounder, not really a floor general, can't really pass, not a great shooter, even at that. Where do you find minutes when you're trying to win games? Those type of players, they can be the most talented players on your team, but if they don't do something else that complements what other guys do, it's really hard to try to win games with those type of players. So I think Cam just has to define his game a little bit more. I think that's why the coaches told him in the Summer League, try to showcase your passing abilities, and he did a good job doing that. He wasn't as a ball hog as he was the first year in Summer League. I love to see that because that's something like Jay Gupp, for example, is a player that was told, define your role. They told him in Summer League, bro, go out here, ball. He went out there and thought he was prime Kobe, and now he's not on the team anymore. So it's just, for young guys, you got to know what your niche is and what your role is to really, and I think that's something he's going to have to define.
Frank, I got another question, follow up with that, coming from the comments. AD asks,
Okay.
what are the two things that JG have? He's making a joke out of your.
No, I mean, that's a good question. I think that JG.
All right, can I answer this?
Real quick, I'm gonna just say mine. He can score, not efficiently. He can pass, pretty good, but not great. He can defend in some aspects of the court, but naturally, he's the number 2 pick for the team. So players like that, he's gonna get the longest rope. That a Cam Whitmore that was a 20th pick and the 6th pick of our rebuild is not gonna have that long of a landing strip to be able to go through the bumps and bruises that Jalen. That's just how it is in any league. It's like, it's not fair. But Jalen is just flashed a lot more than a lot of these players, and the Rockets are going to give him the chance to be able to either prove himself or not. But I think that Jalen has shown, especially in the second half of this season, he's shown he could rebound as a guard. He's shown that he can play defense as a guard. And if you pair that with what he's doing, what he can do consistently scoring, then you're cooking with something there. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
No doubt. Ryan, you got something you want to say on that, or are you good?
Yeah. So, what two things does Jalen Green have? Jalen Green, he's a great shooter. Hopefully, next season he can be a much better shooter.
Go ahead, drip
Go
God
ahead,
choking
Ryan.
over there. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, Ryan.
Pause.
Hey, yeah.
Jalen Green, he can shoot the ball. He's aggressive. He can drive. His handle looks a lot tighter now, so he'll have that going into the season. He has aura. He has a child.
Aura as a skill is nuts. But yeah, go ahead.
Crazy, bro.
That is his skill, though. That's what makes him so good.
Well, when his confidence
He had
wanes,
37 against the Thunder. He had that crossover.
You're like defining all the aspects of like the score side that we're hoping for. That's why I asked. That's what I asked about the things. But there are proponents that, and this is before we get to the last topic. I have coaching questions, but we'll get to that, and then we can land at that. But there are proponents. We talked about Reed Shepherd at the point guard. We talked about Jalen Green right now, and this brought up that point. I think that Jalen Green is an underrated playmaker. I think that him at the one is a very good conversation worth having when Fred is not on the court. And I think that Reed Shepherd fits very well next to him when Jalen is, well, ideally, remember these are theories, next to him when Jalen Green is at the one. My only problem is I don't know how well Amen plays with them on the half court set whenever Jalen is the one. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I don't know how far that scales out. But I do think the best version of Jalen is something I've been saying for years. Preston knows this. I've been saying it since we met. I don't know if Jalen. Well, I do think the best version of Jalen is the point guard position. I just don't know if that's the best version of Rockets basketball with him.
No, it's not. And I'm actually going to backtrack on what you're saying. Sorry to interrupt.
You're good.
A few podcasts ago, it was like last month or something like that, maybe even before then, I said Jalen Green plays his best when he's the playmaker on our team and he's
ball handler, right?
What?
Primary ball handler?
Primary ball handler, yes.
Okay.
I've been saying that, and then what's his name? Will put out a tweet about it. And then everyone started getting on that train of Jalen Green is the best when he's a playmaker. I've been saying it, and that's what I want to see from him going into the season. I want to see more of that playmaking.
Now,
just
because Jalen is best when he's the playmaker, does that mean the team is the best?
That's my only issue.
The problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. And that's where Frank is right about Şengün and how they play well together, and it's like, Fred can play off ball, Reed can play off ball, but there's so many other players that I feel like struggle.
I think for Jalen, I think him being on ball is his, and that's been apparent. Ryan, Ryan, we was talking about this in Spaces' his rookie year, bro. Like we've been known this, that he is more effective when he's the primary ball handler. One of the key things that happened when Şengün got hurt, honestly, is that they just made him the point guard, and Fred VanVleet was playing off of him. And I was like, why didn't we do this the whole year with them two? So
Şengün is our playmaker.
Yeah, no, with Jalen and Şengün running two-man with Fred off ball. Yeah, I don't know why they waited, but to Ime's credit, he said that basically he had to teach them how to just run basic stuff. And I think that what we saw was accumulation of what they've been working on all season. And it just looks like, oh yeah, he could, but I don't think Jalen could have done what he did if we gave him on-ball reps in November of 2023. Like he would have just looked like he did under Silas. So I think he had to learn how to be a complete player. My thing with the point of him is that best for the Rockets. If his playmaking doesn't get that much better, no, because the guy that has the ball in their hands, they have to be able to make every single pass on the court, or you're selling your team short, and that's a problem. Even with Fred VanVleet doesn't do that, right? He has tunnel vision, bro. And to me, that limits our ceiling. So
that's the point of the playmaker.
So Şengün, to me, is an equalizer for that, because there's not a lot of big men that you can share that vision with. And the way I vision it is that having a guard that isn't Chris Paul or even Ja or LeBron or Luka, one of these like Trae Youngs, if you can have an extension of yourself as a guard in that two-man game with a big man that sees the court, the whole court, then you have no excuse. Like, so to me, individually, Jalen, no, but Jalen and Şengün together, then they can make every play out there, because all Jalen really honestly has to see is the one pass, his read to go score or shoot or drive, and the pocket to the big man, because the big man can get everywhere else from there. So that's just how I see it. But it is, I don't see him being like, let him cook, 90 touches a game. It wouldn't be the best basketball for us.
Yeah. And
Heliocentric ball.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Go ahead, Pastor.
No, you're good. You're good. I'd rather land there. That's a positive note about Jalen, and I think a lot of us understand that. And I'd probably be more happy to watch him play basketball if we could see more of that. So, nonetheless, though, I do have questions about our coaching staff and like how we call plays and offensive sets and what we're doing. Again, like I've been alluding to it kind of the whole podcast and understanding like, okay, what are they gonna like? What are their rotations gonna look like? What are they trying to achieve when certain players are on the court? I think transition is natural at this point. I mean, Fred has to get better. I mean, he did towards the end of the last season, but it's natural for our young players because of the pace that we play and the defensive minded, defensive oriented way we play defense. But I just don't understand how we struggle so much in the half court set. And I think that's for me is like I don't necessarily have a solution for it other than players actually just knowing where they need to be on the court and actually hitting shots that come their way, making an extra pass maybe. But there are a number of ways that we can utilize the gravity of certain players, kind of certain screens. We're getting Steven Adams this year. So I just want to see how we play in the half court set, how we put together plays, at what pace are we going to be playing in the half court? Are we taking shots early, middle, or late in the shot clock? It's just so much of those questions that I don't know what Ime's offense is in actuality, to Fred's point, that he was doing a lot of teaching last year. So, I mean, I don't even know. Like, this is somewhere I'm in the dark. I just want to take it all in. But what I don't want is to take 30 games to figure that out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I wanted to come out the gate and understand where we're at and what we can do and put that plan in action and see it, right? I want that to be the case. I'm sorry, not to cut you off. And I want it to be more than one way. Like, we shouldn't have just one style or one way to attack a particular game plan.
You talking about just pick and roll? We shouldn't just spam pick and roll.
Well, we did the Sengun hub with so hard early until they like that pace early on with Sengun. It was like the only way we could win.
It wasn't even a hub. It was just Fred and Sengun pick and roll. Like they just kept on running that over and over, or ILP would try to slip in, or they'll try to get him. Usually it was pick and roll for most of the game. When it was crunch time, they go to the wedge roll action where they would try to get Sengun on a empty side to go cook one-on-one, which, like, to your point, variety is better, right? I think what we saw after he got injured, that lineup, the going small is a great switch up that we can throw out in maybe our death lineups type deal. I think that Jalen and Sengun two-man is something we haven't seen in the Ime Udoka era, but I have the same concerns you do, brother. Like with Ime Udoka, I've seen the improvement in defense to me, which is the hardest part. The offense should come easy. I think it's just a matter of collective IQ and guys really, like you said, knowing where to be, knowing where the actions are, how to read a screen, when to cut. I love the synergy with Amen and some of the guys because he's a smart player. You throw Reed in there. I think Jalen one more year, Jabari one more year. I'm assuming they're all just going to be naturally better at everything. So hopefully that means a better looking offensive product.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you don't have to say about assuming though. But I am interested. I like the positivity, guys. So I have to be the negative force for that split second there. Normally, I'm always the positive guy, and it's Pastor bringing me down. But today it's the opposite. He's been very, very chippy, very, very perky today for some reason. I don't know about that. Ryan, we're talking
basketball, bro. That's why. Like, I want to see these guys ball. So, and I have no complaints really. Like I want okay, no, I do have a complaint. Like, I don't give a damn about no private runs, bro. Okay, if you want me to be negative, I don't give a damn about any private runs.
There we go.
And no highlight plays where someone told me that Jalen Green was only going half speed during those little clips too, and I'm just like, but baffled that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he was trying on offense, but anyway, I just want to see the actual Rockets play basketball, and I'm super excited for it, bro. I'll be real with you. So I really don't have much to complain about. Like, we have a very deep team, and these guys are young, and they should play, and they should play hard, fast, bro.
Pastor, I just want to ask you a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Why are you such a Jalen Green hater?
Uh-oh.
I am a KPJ lover though. Like
Oh my
Whoa,
God.
whoa, 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 wait! You're a what? You're a who
I
lover?
love KPJ. Like I am
KPJ,
a
man.
thing,
So
bro.
should I
Like,
leave now?
This
while
dude been
I-
riding
Look,
since
he's
hey, so not
KPJ
only
is
that,
an amazing on-court player.
yes,
Not
I
even.
love
So
KPJ when
just
he is
stop
on
there.
the
Just
court.
stop there. We're not gonna go deep into it. Just stop there because I don't want to get canceled on
Yeah.
YouTube or anything. But I'm only saying that to say that, like, I think that we we kind of talked about this all podcasts, is that there are certain players on our team that we've given the keys a lot earlier than they should have. And even
Right.
KPJ is one of these players, right? And there's some of these players on our team that have taken the natural progression. Even Tari Eason, which he brought up. Hold on, let me land real quick. Tari Eason is one of these players that naturally had a very natural rookie route to developing. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at it that way, I'm like, okay, if Jalen Green had that route, took natural steps in progression, then yeah, I'd be more like, okay, this is to be expected. But in actuality, he's had many minutes and expectations, and we kind of give excuses for why he doesn't play well. So, oh, well, KPJ was in his way. It's like, not really. KPJ kind of coddled and protected him from the critique that he was supposed to get early on. But we don't talk about that. So, but that doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, if Jalen Green plays well, I'm going to be there to support him. I may not be a super fan like the rest of you all, but I'm going to be there and root for him, and I'm going to say he's playing well. But at the same time, if he's missing shots that he shouldn't make, if he can't make a catch and shoot three from Şengün, I'm going to let that be known, bro. So it's not like just even hate, it's reality too. I've watched him miss shots that he should make.
So I will support Jalen Green if he's good, but I'll still get on his ass for missing one open
I'll
shot.
get on his ass if he's good at making
realist.
mistakes, bro. I am
He's a realist.
like really though. But I've been here for the whole story, so I have a very deep understanding of the Jalen Green era and dynamic. Like,
and I can vouch for that. I can vouch. We had early conversations about all of this. So what he's saying is not wrong. Even with the Kevin Porter thing on court, it's just a matter of Jalen just doing it at this point. Because I don't think this year there can be no like, well, if it's like, bro, the fourth year contract year, just do it, bro. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, this he needs to prove himself this year.
Yeah,
I think that's a conclusive conclusion. I guess we've all come to is that, like, you know, Pastor knows, man. Not necessarily that I'm making excuses for Jalen, but I did, you know, like, oh yeah, you're giving him some of them, you know, I shouldn't be giving it to him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because you know, not that I dislike Şengün mob, calm down, but like I was a lot harder on Şengün than I was Jalen, right? For a lot of that. And the earlier podcast will show it too. Pastor and I get into it, you know, that's just facts. He's Şengün lover, I'm a Jalen lover. That's just, but at the end of the day, why not both? And so I'd like to leave it there, guys, with a lot of things that we talked about. I mean, a fun episode, fun-filled, a lot of conversations to be had. And I love the dynamic we've gone on here with everybody on here. So first, man, I want to thank Tank, man. Thank you for jumping on, man. And Pastor, man, I appreciate you jumping on, man. Yes, let's start off with Pastor. I ended with him for the intro earlier. So let's start off with Pastor leaving it. Where can we plug you in at, man? And thanks again for joining.
No doubt, man. I always love coming on talking, man. Like I said, I'm excited to see some Houston Rockets basketball, getting ready for the season, see where it goes next. You can always find me on Twitter at Earl of God. I do a lot of all type of talking, Texans talk, Rockets talk, financial talk, and shit talk. So you can always keep up with me there, chop it up with me. I'll get back with you. I promise you.
For sure, man. Yeah, be sure to check out Pastor and everything he does, man. He's on X, Insta. He do everything, man. All right, Ryan, thank you for jumping on again. As per usual, brother, where can we plug you in at?
Pastor, can you help me with financial stability?
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. You can find me on at RyanDiamond15 on Twitter, at RyanDiamond15 on Instagram, Htownrundown podcast. You can find me on the Rockets Round Robin podcast, Htownrundown.org, and soon to be, you can also find me on Rockets on Sports Illustrated.
Yes, sir. We got a new one in the house, man. Be sure to check out all of his writing. And remember, Htownrundown.org, man. We got a new website up. Be sure to go check it out and share us around. We appreciate that greatly. And Frank, man, we appreciate you coming on today. It's been a phenomenal talk, man. It's good to see IQ from another fellow Houstonian out there, man.
Appreciate you.
Plug yourself in, man. Where can we find you?
FTank58 on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. And on YouTube, the channel is Rockets Chop Shop. Y'all can tap in, hit the subscribe for great Rockets content. Thanks y'all for having me. I really appreciate this. I'm gonna have to get y'all on my side once
Absolutely.
the season starts. We'll get y'all over there. Okay.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate it, man. We greatly appreciate it, man. We love the interconnection that X and the interwebs bring us. Be sure to check out the description below, as it has the Rockets Chop Shop latest episode talking about Jalen Green going on down there. So be sure to check all that out. Be sure to check out all of us out, man. And is your host, man. We leaving it off here. 2Ps_JWG on X as well as Instagram. Be sure to follow the at Htownrundown on Instagram as well as XF. Be sure to check out the Facebook page and again the website Htownrundown.org. Man, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Let us know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with some of our takes. We will be there to check it out. See ya.